voudrais d'abord remercier sincèrement Madame l'ambassadeur de Corée d'avoir pu bien prendre le relais. Merci infiniment pour votre concours, Madame l'ambassadeur. Nous allons maintenant passer au point 6b. Examination of the reports of the first cycle of periodic reporting on the implementation of the Convention and on the current status of elements inscribed on the representative list of the Intangible Cultural Heritage of Humanity by states parties in Europe. Mr. Secretary, the floor is yours to present the item. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson, and dear committee members. As stipulated in Article 29 of the Convention, it is one of the obligations of states bodies to submit to the committee a report on the legislative, regulatory, and other measures taken for the implementation of the Convention. This report should also include updated information on the current status of the elements inscribed on the representative list in the country. Once these reports are examined by the committee, a summary of these reports shall be sent to the following General Assembly. Europe is the second region to submit periodic reports on the implementation of the Convention following the rather extensive reform of the periodic reporting cycle, including moving to a regional basis. For this cycle, the reformed exercise continues to show very encouraging results, as 42 out of 44 countries submitted their reports. In other words, we have a submission rate of 95%. So I think you have some of the early submission rates on our graph there. In the very early stages of the convention in 2011, we only had 7 parties needing to submit, so we had high rates. But then we had significant drops down to 16, 20%, and so on. So what we're seeing since the reform is a rapid increase and a much higher rate of report submission. In order to provide more detailed information on the implementations and findings of the periodic report for this cycle, Mr. Chairperson, I would like you to give the floor to my colleague, Ms. Fumiko Hinata. Thank you.
Fumiko, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Merci, Tim. Bonjour, membres du comité. La mise en œuvre du nouveau système de rapports périodiques en Europe a été une expérience enrichissante, je crois pour tout le monde, qui a rassemblé de nombreux acteurs différents de la scène du patrimoine culturel immatériel. Grâce au soutien du Centre régional pour la sauvegarde du patrimoine culturel immatériel en Europe du Sud-Est, une formation destinée aux points focaux nationaux a été organisée entre mars et avril 2021. Malgré le format en ligne des ateliers en raison de la pandémie de Covid-19, des efforts ont été faits pour assurer l'échange et le partage d'expériences entre les participants. Notamment, les points focaux nationaux ont été accompagnés tout au long de l'exercice de compte rendu. Ce cycle a donné lieu à de nombreux résultats positifs au niveau régional et national, notamment la création du réseau européen des points focaux pour la Convention de l'UNESCO de 2003. Son rôle va au-delà du soutien à l'exercice d'établissement de rapports, devenant désormais une plateforme importante pour la mise en réseau et la coopération régionale en matière de sauvegarde du patrimoine vivant. En même temps, les États ont été confrontés à des défis dans la préparation de leurs rapports. Le court délai, la complexité du formulaire de rapport et les ressources humaines et financières limitées sont parmi les difficultés soulignées par les États parties. Avec votre permission, Monsieur le Président, nous avons préparé une courte vidéo présentant les témoignages de certains des points focaux nationaux et des facilitateurs qui ont participé à l'exercice de cette année. Le vidéo, s'il vous plaît, Régie.
Hello, everybody. Hello.
Une occasion pour chaque pays. Et puis en Suisse, c'était vraiment un cas particulier de se poser la question de comment est-ce qu'on est en train de mettre en œuvre des politiques publiques pour la sauvegarde du patrimoine culturel immatériel. Et en fait, il y avait un côté de se tendre un miroir à soi-même et d'essayer de comprendre ce qu'il y a dans ce miroir et toute la diversité des pratiques des acteurs et de voir à quel point c'est large, c'est complexe. Et c'était ça, en fait, finalement, notre découverte principale. Et c'était très intéressant de voir que ça a impliqué des porteurs de tradition, ça a impliqué les autorités publiques, ça nous a impliqué, nous, confédération. Et finalement, ça nous a fait nous rendre compte que petit à petit, après maintenant 20 ans de convention pour la Suisse, 14 ans de ratification, ça avait pris place et on a même découvert des mesures de sauvegarde dont on n'avait aucune idée. On a découvert des petits recoins aussi de pratiques et de mesures liées au patrimoine immatériel.
Me and my colleagues, which are experts in the National Commission, we are very happy to read the periodic reports of the other countries in Europe. And we learned so much from that. I think the periodic report could be one register of best safeguarding practices in itself, because we know what other countries are doing and we can take examples and we can inspire each other. And I think we may even have collaborations on specific issues of how to safeguard a type of element, maybe asking our colleagues, my colleagues' focal points to come and have meetings with us and discuss how we can do this, how we can do like they did and enhance our safeguarding system.
It was absolutely trying to experience for the first time such a great, complex, interactive and multidisciplinary fields that ICH really lead in its nature. But it was at the same time extraordinary to discover how many links ICH could open to our eyes, to our way of working, to also even our feelings.
The positive impact was that we get a lot of information on the work with ICH amongst different community, many places in Norway. And we also get the broad overview over the field. That was the positive outcome. It was also a positive outcome to build new networks with different people, both in Norway and outside Norway.
The Sami Parliament is not a community, but as a representative elected body, we represent and promote the interests of the Sami societies in Norway. Sami Parliament's input was, so to speak, also included unedited in the report. That is also important.
Almost 1/3 of all the Finnish municipalities replied to our survey. So just by sending email plus adding a little video in 5 minutes telling what is the convention about and what, for example, is happening under municipality. So we were really able to inspire new kind of actors to get to know what it is and sort of realize that, oh, actually many things in my municipality, for example, is happening around this, but they just didn't know the name for it. Intangible Cultural Heritage.
To take into account that the main purpose of the periodic reporting procedure is to establish public policies on safeguarding.
En un mot, je dirais que le moment du rapport périodique est un moment dynamique, un moment qui mobilise l'ensemble des acteurs et nous donne l'occasion d'améliorer le plan de sauvegarde?
Ce serait la mise en mouvement. Et tout comme, par exemple, une candidature pour l'UNESCO, un projet d'inventaire, ça permet de mettre en mouvement, de mettre en action et de fédérer dans un objectif commun.
The very strong outcome of the whole process is the learning network approach we have developed in our training process, from which a strong networking dynamics has grown.
It worked.
It worked. It evolved really into a new network, so this is very strong. And now this network, the European network of focal points, is really taking initiatives and developing things together, independently of the UNESCO Living Heritage entity, but as an initiative on their own. So this is really a strong outcome of the whole periodic reporting process.
And it's really important because there's a lot of work that has to happen between periodic reports every 6 years. So the more that focal points can support each other and work together and also work with the facilitators in those 6 years, the better the outcome is going to be for the next cycle.
I just want to say for the ones that are going to do that, I think I want to tell them and tell myself at the beginning of the process that the periodic reporting is a blessing in disguise in a burden. Because they don't know the beginning. They cannot know how enjoying the process is when you see the results of it, when you see what you achieved and when you see what your peers achieved and how much you can go further, have a foundation for your future work.
Thank you for watching the video, and allow me to just finish up. Thank you again, and Monsieur le Chairperson, please allow me to finish up the presentation by saying that with the submission of 42 reports on the implementation of the Convention and on the status of 177 elements inscribed on the representative list, this time a large and rich amount of data was gathered. So we are now in the process of still analyzing it. And as a first step, data has been processed in order to develop, so we are trying to develop in-depth quantitative and qualitative content analysis by a collaborative research team composed by experienced experts and an Institute of Ethnology and Social Anthropology of the Slovak Academy of Sciences. This analytical overview, which you can find in Annex 1 of Document 6b Rev, illustrates the divergent and convergent trends as well as key challenges and opportunities related to safeguarding living heritage in the different countries of the region. While the analytical overview already contains useful observations, as was the case for the Latin American and Caribbean region, a more detailed report will be presented to the committee at its 18th session next year. I thank you, Tim. Thank you, Mr. Chairperson.
Merci beaucoup, Fumiko. Et je trouve extrêmement intéressant que le cycle de rapport 2022 ait été mis en œuvre avec autant de succès. Et je tiens à applaudir l'ensemble des États, parties d'Europe, pour leurs efforts et leur esprit de coopération. J'ouvre maintenant la parole. Est-ce que les membres du comité souhaitent prendre la parole à ce stade, avant l'examen du projet de décision qui est affiché sur l'écran? On va noter les demandes de parole. Suisse.
Monsieur le secrétaire, vous pourriez lire la liste des demandes de parole, s'il vous plaît. Merci beaucoup.
Mr. Chair, the countries I have are Switzerland, Uzbekistan, Sweden, Slovakia, Ethiopia, Czechia, Germany. Rwanda.
Thank you, Tim. So the floor, Switzerland, you have the floor. La Suisse.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. La Suisse a pris connaissance avec intérêt et satisfaction du compte-rendu et des premières analyses concernant le cycle de rapport périodique pour la région Europe. Avec un taux de soumission de 95%, un volume et une qualité de données importants, cet exercice peut être considéré comme un succès. Nous souhaitons féliciter tous les participants et partenaires qui se sont engagés dans cette démarche d'auto-analyse exigeante et complexe. Nous aimerions aussi rappeler que ces rapports ne doivent pas être politisés, mais se concentrer sur la sauvegarde du patrimoine. La Suisse remercie le secrétariat pour les efforts investis dans le développement de ce nouveau système de rapport et en particulier pour l'accompagnement des points focaux. Le secrétariat a organisé, comme vous avez pu voir dans le petit film, des formations en ligne très appréciées. La Suisse y a participé et nous avons noté avec grande satisfaction que cette approche a permis l'émergence de dynamiques régionales d'échange et de collaboration fructueuse. À juste titre, et en écho aux États ayant fait l'exercice, le document du secrétariat met aussi en évidence les difficultés rencontrées lors de l'établissement de ces rapports, la complexité et la densité du formulaire en ligne, les ressources conséquentes à mobiliser ou encore l'exigence d'un processus participatif en sont quelques exemples. Il nous semble essentiel de reconnaître ces défis, d'identifier des solutions et de chercher à améliorer constamment le système de soumission des rapports périodiques. Tout en étant conscient qu'un cycle de rapports est en cours et qu'il convient de maintenir une structure permettant la comparaison, la Suisse souhaiterait voir une simplification substantielle des formulations du questionnaire pour faciliter l'élaboration du rapport. Les rapports des États ne prennent leur sens que dans une synthèse comparative. Nous saluons à ce titre le résumé analytique des cycles européens et d'Amérique latine et des Caraïbes présenté à l'occasion de ce comité. En vue de l'important effort pour l'élaboration de ces rapports à différents niveaux, il est important de rationaliser et de simplifier à la fois les mécanismes de rapport et d'analyse. Ceci nous semble particulièrement pertinent dans la perspective de la déclaration de Mondia Culte et de l'appel à produire un rapport global sur les politiques culturelles. Ainsi, il convient d'envisager dès à présent des synergies et éviter toute surenchère dans les mécanismes de reporting. Je vous remercie pour votre attention.
Merci beaucoup à la Suisse. Maintenant, I give the floor to Uzbekistan to be followed by Sweden. Uzbekistan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, we would like to thank the state parties for submitting their national reports in a timely manner. We have reviewed many of the items carefully, and many of them can serve as a model for others who will be preparing their reports in upcoming cycles. It was our understanding that these reports should refer mainly and only to national efforts, and in particular avoid politicization, as a speaker before me mentioned, and interfering in internal affairs of other state parties. However, we have found that the report of one state party, Armenia, does not comply with the principles and the spirit of the 2003 Convention, as it multiply refers to another state party. As a committee member, this is a concern for us, and we feel obliged to remind the state parties, including Armenia, of the committee's previous decisions, which explicitly asked the state parties, and I quote, to take particular care in their periodic reports to avoid characterizing the practices and actions within other states, including expressions that might inadvertently diminish mutual respect among communities or impede intercultural dialogue, and also to work with the Secretariat in order to avoid in their periodic reports any language inconsistent with the UN Charter, as well as the 2003 Convention and invites them to meticulously pursue this principle in their future work. Any language that contradicts these principles and attempts to politicize the 2003 Convention while undermining the spirit of mutual respect and collaboration promoted by the provisions of the Convention are unacceptable. The sovereignty and territorial integrity of states parties are sacred for everyone and are unquestionable. We cannot allow any state party to undermine these principles enshrined in UN Charter, especially bringing it to this committee. Mr. Chair, we would kindly ask you to include our statement into the report of the committee. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup l'Ouzbékistan. Évidemment, la déclaration sera bien évidemment inclue. Merci. La Suède, qui sera suivie de la Slovaquie. Sweden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sweden wants to thank the Secretariat and all concerned member states for the extensive work with the periodic reporting. The positive outcomes so far are manifested, among other things, in high levels of inclusive participation, new network for cooperation, and ways to share practices and experiences. We would also like to thank the experts who have analyzed the material and, based on this extensive data, have identified common trends, challenges, and opportunities. One priority area of particular importance is indigenous peoples, not least when it comes to how climate and environmental changes can threaten their cultural heritage, but also how the knowledge and experiences of indigenous people can contribute to sustainable development. It is now important that the content in the reports come to use in the continued work, nationally and internationally. Sweden also agrees with the challenges that the Secretariat has identified. We have previously pointed out the difficulties for civil society in understanding the language and terminology used in the reporting documents. It can be added here that the reporting is very comprehensive in relation to the time for preparation and training. Lastly, we would also like to support Switzerland's comment about the possibility of simplifying the questionnaire. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup la Suède. La parole est à la Slovaquie, qui sera suivie de l'Éthiopie. La Slovaquie.
Merci. Thank you, Mr. Chair. We would like to thank the Secretariat for the efforts connected with the periodical reporting in this cycle, assisting and offering guidance to the state parties in the times of complicated online communication caused by COVID-19 pandemic, as well as for the following analysis of a wide range of thematic areas covered by the reports. Thank you very much for offering the state parties the opportunity to reflect and look broadly and in all its complexity at safeguarding the ICH with a particular focus on SDGs. We had the chance to assess our strengths, but also challenges. Moreover, the periodical reporting presents the unique possibility of seeing our efforts in an international context. We are also thankful to Finland and Italy for launching the European Network of Focal Points and all the other state parties joining the network and continuing the work with great interest, enthusiasm, and first of all, passion. We hope the report's result will help improve the strategic planning regarding ICH safeguarding at the international level, and the crucial point is the intersectional cooperation within the national context. In this manner, the drafting of the periodical report helped to raise awareness about the Convention 2003 in Slovakia, also in various ministries, not giving enough stress to the ICH as a part of their agenda before. It also brought us more intense collaboration with the NGOs dealing with ICH safeguarding and, most of all, the communities. And finally, it's really encouraging to see we are all on the same board, struggling with the very same challenges addressed in the reports. That gives us hope to find common solutions in the future too. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup à la Slovaquie. Je donne la parole à l'Éthiopie, qui sera suivie de la République tchèque. Ethiopia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. As a new committee member, Ethiopia would like to express its appreciation for the government of the Kingdom of Morocco for the warm welcoming and for the marvelous hospitality. We would like also to appreciate the Secretariat for all the reports it did, and then also for the chairperson. My delegation would like to express the admiration, the way you are steering this committee meeting. Ethiopia extends its appreciation for the 42 state parties in Europe that have submitted their periodic reports on the implementation of the Convention and on the status of elements inscribed for the 2022 reporting cycle. As the report indicates, the implementation of the new periodic reporting went well despite challenges encountered by the COVID-19 pandemic. The online training and other networks which are demonstrated a moment ago, I think these are things many other states can take a lesson. As a new periodic reporting system is coming to completion and then also to its third year, important lessons are gained from the experiences of Latin America, Caribbean, and European state parties. However, issues of capacity building and resource remain principal problems to many countries and are concerns to many others. Ethiopia would like to bring to the attention of the Secretariat that when it comes to Africa, a special emphasis to be given both in capacity building and resource. Though the challenge and successes on the implementation are indicated in a generalized way in the report, allow me to humbly request the Secretariat to give us further details. Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup à l'Éthiopie. Je donne la parole à la République tchèque qui sera suivie par l'Allemagne. Czech Republic, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We thank the colleagues from the European region for submitting inspirational reports. We also thank the Secretariat and facilitators for the online training of focal points, other assistance offered, and the opportunity to resubmit reports by the 15th of February of this year. We regret that 2 state parties failed to submit the report and hope that this can be done as soon as possible with the support of all of us. And we would like to find useful whether a link to a section of the ICH UNESCO website, which is dedicated to periodic reports, could be sent in a letter inviting the focal points to sign up. We also appreciate the analysis of experts from the region and the Slovak Academy of Sciences. It is a great challenge for us to achieve a better result in core indicators and thus also in the implementation of the Convention by the next cycle. We want to repeat that we are awaiting the reflection year and its conclusions with great interest. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Merci beaucoup à la République tchèque. La parole est à l'Allemagne. Germany, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We are pleased with the high participation rate both in Latin America and the Caribbean as well as in Europe. And we would also like to thank the expert group from Europe for providing an initial analysis of the reports from Region 1 and 2. We are already looking forward to the detailed analytical report to be published in late 2023, which we hope will provide further inspiration for a common understanding of the current challenges and sustainable solutions for the implementation of the Convention. We would also like to support the capacity building approach taken by the Secretariat so far and also to strengthen the use of this reporting mechanism to produce a comprehensive global report on cultural policies every 4 years, as mentioned in the final declaration of Mondiacult in Mexico in September 2022. However, we would also like to promote a reflection on the current reporting process, which is quite lengthy, demanding, and sometimes even redundant, and therefore not in line with the limited capacities, resources, and timeframes of many states parties, as has been explained in item 6b. We believe that for the second round of the periodic reporting system, the Secretariat could find a way to optimize the system while respecting the overall results framework. Thank you very much.
Merci infiniment à l'Allemagne. Et le dernier intervenant est le Rwanda. La parole est au Rwanda.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Thank you, Mr. President. We thank the Secretariat for the presentation of the first cycle of periodic reporting on the implementation of the Convention and on the current state of elements inscribed on the ICH representative list of the state parties in Europe. We commend the state parties in Europe for the work carried out with 42 numbers of reports submitted for their region, while being aware of the challenges encountered in carrying out this important task. We are aware that greater efforts were required to produce these consolidated reports during the COVID period. As it was the case during the 16th session of the committee at the presentation of the reports of the first cycle of the Latin American and Caribbean state parties, this report provides a good example for the forthcoming first assessment of the African region. Rwanda supports the position raised by Ethiopia related to the challenges of the resources and capacity building for the African continent in preparing these reports. The regional approach is undoubtedly a useful and effective tool to raise awareness of the importance of wider consultations and collaborations with relevant stakeholders. I thank you for your kind attention.
Merci beaucoup, le Rwanda. Je vais donner 2 minutes à Tim pour répondre aux différentes interrogations qui ont été soulevées durant vos interventions. Merci, Tim.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. And I will try to be brief because we're getting to the end of the day and hopefully we can get it back on track. I noted 2 sets of questions. One about the simplification of the forms and the complexity. We are very aware. This periodic reporting form was based quite strictly on the overall results framework, and that has produced a very intense amount of information that's needed, and we have all intentions and are starting to work on how to simplify and streamline that, because the overall results framework was elaborated with a different, not necessarily for each state answering each questions. From the questions from Africa, we are working already. We've started training trainers and working with focal points. And I would like to put out a call. We are very aware of the need to provide enhanced capacity building for the African region, but we believe it's also an opportunity to spark more submissions, to do more capacity building. And I am calling, please, for funding support. We have asked several UNESCO members for funding support. We are waiting on that, and our ability to deliver that capacity building will be directly related to the funding we receive. I thank you, Mr. Chairperson. I wouldn't want to take more time, but we are ready to answer questions in the Secretariat at any stage. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Tim. La parole maintenant est aux observateurs. Donc j'ai l'Italie, l'Arménie et l'Azerbaïdjan. La parole est à l'Italie. Et c'est 1 minute de parole, s'il vous plaît, parce qu'il nous reste 5 minutes avant la clôture de la session. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Excellency, Mr. President, and thanks to all distinguished delegates. Italy would like to express the congratulations to the Kingdom of Morocco, to UNESCO and the Convention Secretariat for the extraordinary committee organization, a significant opportunity to meet in presence again after a long time. The pandemic period affected people, societies, daily life, and different fundamental collective expression, including the cultural one. The comprehensive and detailed analysis of periodic reporting for the Convention implementation showed the monitoring mechanism as a crucial key exercise to contribute with effectiveness to coordinated safeguarding approach, both at the community, national, and international levels. The capacity building activities set by Secretariat in cooperation with Category 2 Center of Sofia and the facilitators gave a precious tool for focal points to deepen engagement on the core purpose of the work in ICH fields, particularly to strengthening the active community's participation and institutional capacities to ensure inclusivity of youth, raise the importance of ICH transmission and education, and reflect on sustainability for future. As I already said, Mondial Cult Conference has stated that culture is a global common good. In this framework, ICH is a cultural pillar for our responsible society and sustainable development needs, as a essential part of safeguarding plans for new generation to the practice and access to the traditional knowledge, even as for the case of emergencies and crisis response. The European network of focal points represent one of the most important outcomes of the UNESCO.
Ça me dérange de vous arrêter, mais ça fait 2 minutes, ça fait beaucoup. S'il vous plaît, si vous pouviez vous limiter.
Thank you to all delegates.
Merci beaucoup, vous êtes gentils. Merci beaucoup. Merci, et j'insiste encore, c'est 1 minute pour les observateurs. Essayez de vous y tenir, même si l'Italie est presque arrivée à 2 minutes. Mais s'il vous plaît, essayez de contenir, voilà, et de limiter vos interventions à 1 minute. Là, je suis vraiment désolé parce que ça me gêne d'interrompre les intervenants en plein discours. C'est gênant. Merci beaucoup. La parole est à l'Arménie.
Thank you, Chair. We thank the Secretariat for analytical overview of periodic reports. Armenia is very pleased to submit its report in a new format in which describes all the work that has been done in the country during recent years, including during COVID-19 pandemic. Chair, yes, in our report we also refers to Azerbaijan's aggression against Nagorno-Karabakh in fall of 2020. And yes, we raised this question of forced displacement of Armenian population, about the destruction of the heritage, about the serious threats to their living heritage. And to make it very clear to all the committee members and to all in this room that it's only about the cultural rights and about the danger these cultural rights are facing. And we will not spare our efforts to protect the living heritage of forcibly displaced Armenian population. It's our moral duty and legal obligation under 2003 Convention. And by concluding, Chair, we also, without going into further details, we also would like to inform that we have some observations concerning the report presented by Azerbaijan, which is attached to our periodic report and available on the Convention website. And it mostly related to another attempt to rewrite the history by presenting the city of Shushi as an Azerbaijani city without a single mentioning of Armenian population and Armenian roots. Thank you.
Merci à l'Arménie. La parole est à l'Azerbaïdjan. Merci.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We would like to first of all thank the committee and the Secretariat for their efforts to implement the first cycle of periodic reporting in the European region. Unfortunately, despite the huge benefit of the reporting cycle, it was taken by one state party as occasion to use the convention as a platform for political claims. And it has been clearly echoed by previous speakers. Azerbaijan is deeply concerned with the content of the periodic reports submitted by Armenia. In fact, we totally reject the false and unfounded political claims mentioned in the report by Armenia with the aim to manipulate the committee. The report is yet another attempt by Armenia to instrumentalize and politicize the 2003 Convention and undermine the spirit of mutual respect and collaboration. This approach paves the way for extremely dangerous precedents that could lead to discrediting the committee. These unfounded and totally false claims in a national report come from the country which has held internationally recognized territories of Azerbaijan under the occupation for nearly 30 years. During the occupation of the territories of Azerbaijan, the cultural heritage of Azerbaijan had been totally destroyed by Armenia. Numerous examples of ICH traditional arts, crafts, social activities, ritual and practices have been completely annihilated or are now endangered, as those communities who had survived had to flee to other regions of the country, having no connection with historical and cultural environment for 30 years. Armenia must stop, once for all, the politicization of 2003 Convention and finally focus on its implementation within its own territory as required by the Convention. UNESCO's 2003 convention cannot be
Merci
used for
beaucoup,
political
l'Azerbaïdjan.
purposes. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, monsieur l'ambassadeur. Merci infiniment. Pour être juste, parce que chaque pays a eu 1 minute 30 et quelques, donc je suis resté dans cet équilibre-là, même si vous avez tous dépassé la minute qui était consacrée à vos interventions. Merci beaucoup. Est-ce qu'on peut adopter la décision chapeau tout de suite, comme ça c'est fait, je pense qu'il n'y aura pas de problème. Est-ce qu'on peut l'afficher? Voilà. 17.com, 6.b. Est-ce que le comité souhaite adopter cette décision dans sa globalité, si possible, avant que nous levions la séance? C'est la décision chapeau. Est-ce qu'il y a des observations par rapport à la décision qui vous est soumise? Je ne vois pas d'objection. Je considère le projet de décision 17.com 6.b comme étant adopté. Merci aux membres du comité. Merci beaucoup. Ladies and gentlemen, let me remind you that every morning from tomorrow the Bureau will meet at 9 a.m. in the Bureau meeting room. The Vice Chairpersons from Switzerland, Czechia, Panama, Republic of Korea, and Botswana, as well as our rapporteur, Ramiro Maurice Silva Rivera, Peru. Please be there on time so we can begin promptly. The meeting of the Bureau is open to observers, of course, as usual. And I will now pass the floor to the Secretary. Tim, you have the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. Dear committee members, I would like to remind you to send, should you have any requests to discuss or amend specific draft decisions concerning nominations, before tomorrow, Tuesday 29 of November at 8 a.m. We have already received some. You can send them, please, to ichmendments@unesco.org, and this will allow the Bureau to better organize the time available for debating these items. For those states who wish to hold performances and/or present audio-visual materials after the examination of their nomination files, please inform the Secretariat as soon as possible and provide us with relevant electronic files by tomorrow morning, Tuesday, 8 a.m. Please note that your interventions after the adoptions of the decisions, including speeches and the display of audio-visual material and performances, are limited to 2 minutes maximum for national files and 3 minutes maximum for multinational files. Thank you, Mr. Chairperson.
Merci Tim, j'ai juste une petite annonce à faire avant de lever la session, simplement par rapport à l'ensemble des membres du comité. Vous savez que nous avons une audience en tant que membre du comité qui nous est accordée par la princesse La Hasna à 18h15, donc nous devrions quitter ici vers 17h50. Donc l'invitation est adressée à l'ensemble des membres du comité pour que nous puissions nous rendre à la fondation. Ce n'est pas loin, c'est à 10 minutes en bus. Le transfert est prévu. Voilà. Et je lève la session et en espérant vous revoir demain matin à 9h30. Merci infiniment à tous. Merci.